Look what the marketing guys did. Look, check it out. Listen. You love this.
It's clobbering time!
It's catchy, right? Isn't that great? Oh, that was the prototype!
With the Fantastic Four returning to Marvel this July, I wanted to make a video covering the Fantastic Four in live action. That means the Roger Corman produced Fantastic Four, the two Fox produced Fantastic Four movies from 2005 and 2007, the reboot from 2015 directed by Josh Trank that was a travesty, at least when it comes to the production of it, and the upcoming Marvel-produced Fantastic Four that is coming in July. Marvel got the rights back to the first family, so that's a pretty big reason to be excited for it. But let's go back to the beginning of the Fantastic Four's cinematic journey, and that is the Roger Corman-produced Fantastic Four.
From the pages of the world's greatest comic book adventure, four heroes on a daring mission in space.
This movie was actually never officially released. It was only a movie produced so that the German producer at the time could keep the film rights for it. His name was Bernd Eichinger. It basically depicts the first time the Fantastic Four fought Mr. Doom. Because the movie wasn't officially released, you can only get pirated copies of it. And that is kind of a weird thing. It was kind of one of the first big comic book movies. It was made in the 90s, so the comic book genre didn't quite look like as it looks like today. It certainly wasn't as popular as it is today. Because in the 90s you kind of took a risk releasing and making a comic book movie, aside from the Tim Burton Batman movies. The movie was of course produced as a B-movie. Roger Corman was the king of B-movies. And the movie is very ridiculous in many aspects, but it's very, very comic book accurate, which is surprising. The cast mainly consists of unknown actors, at least to me. I didn't know who they were. And they are one of the parts that is good about it. Because the movie has its charm, really. It's made on a shoestring budget. So that means they had to work with very little, but yet they managed to be comic book accurate, which fans appreciate. So that's why I'm going to go over the story of this movie. It's very unknown, but if you haven't seen it, this is a warning. It will be spoilers here. Here we go. Reed Richards and Victor Von Doom are college friends who use the opportunity of a passing comet called Colossus to try an experiment. It goes horribly wrong, leaving Victor to be believed dead. Susan and Johnny Storm are two children living with their mother, who owns a boarding house where Reed lives. Ben Grimm is a family friend and a college buddy of Reed's. 10 years later, Reed, Susan, Johnny, and Ben participate in a mission in an experimental spacecraft of Reed's, as the same comet passes Earth. Unbeknownst to them, a crucial diamond component designed to protect them from the comet's cosmic rays has been replaced with an imitation by a criminal named the Jeweler, leaving them exposed to the radiation. After crash landing on Earth, they discover that the cosmic rays have given them special powers. Reed's bodily structure has become elastic. Susan can become invisible. Johnny can generate fire on demand, and Ben has transformed into a creature with stone-like skin. They are later captured by Ben posing as Marines, and are taken to Victor, who has become the villainous monarch Dr. Doom. They escape and meet at the Baxter Building, trying to decide how to move forward with their superpowers. An angry Ben leaves them to go out on his own, feeling he has become a freak. He is found by homeless men and joins them in the lair of the Jeweler. the jeweler has his henchman kidnap blind artist Alicia Masters, whom he plans to force into being his bride, intending to use the stolen diamond as his wedding gift to her. Doom, who has his own plans for the diamond, sends his henchman to the jeweler to make a deal for it, but to no avail. Doom seizes the diamond himself, and a gun battle breaks out between his men and the jewelers. When Ben enters the fray, Doom takes Alicia hostage. When Ben threatens to clobber Doom, Alicia begs him not to risk it, and confesses her love for him. Her confession changes Ben back to human form, and he flees into the city streets. Frustrated at his helplessness, he reverts to the Thing. When Ben returns to his friends, Reed has learned that Doom is actually Victor. Doom contacts them and threatens to use the diamond to power a laser cannon that will destroy New York City unless they surrender to him. Realizing they are the only ones who can stop him, they don costumes and travel to Doom's castle, where they confront waves of his military forces. As Reed battles him, Doom manages to fire his laser but is knocked off a balcony wall. As he clings to the wall, Reed tries to rescue him, but Doom's gauntlet comes loose and he falls into the fog below. His gauntlet, that is still on the balcony, starts to move on its own. Meanwhile, Johnny has become the Human Torch and flies off to intercept the laser's shot, deflecting away from the city and into outer space. Ben frees Alicia and finally introduces himself to her. She feels the rocky surface of his face but is not fazed by his altered appearance. The Fantastic Four dedicate themselves to fighting evil, and Reed and Susan marry. So that was kind of my overview of the Roger Corman produced Fantastic Four, the first live-action Fantastic Four we got. And it has its charm, it really does. It's comic book accurate and it's charming in a way that's a bit ridiculous too. It's not a good movie at all. And it was made in a kind of cynical way, just made so that the rights wouldn't revert back to Marvel. If you're interested in this movie, there are ways to find it, but I wouldn't suggest watching it because it's not that good. And that you can actually say for most of these movies that I'm bringing up here and talking about. The Fantastic Four didn't really have any luck with the live-action adaptations. But it would take over a decade before we got another live-action movie of the Fantastic Four. And it would be Fox Studios that would take over the franchise.
Exposure to a high-energy cosmic storm could advance our knowledge about planetary life to our future. I don't trust him. We got what we wanted. Just worried about what he wants.
With the Fantastic Four from 2005, we get another attempt with a whole new cast, like Chris Evans in maybe his first comic book role as the Human Torch, and Jessica Alba as Invisible Woman, Ewan Griffith as Mr. Fantastic, and The Thing played by Michael Chiklis. Also Dr. Doom played by Julian McMahon, who played Balthazar in the very popular TV series Charmed. This was a totally different release. It was an official movie released in theaters, no ulterior motives with the release itself, and directed by Tim Story. I remember seeing this movie not too long after it released. The comic book genre still wasn't really popular back then in 2005, besides the Spider-Man movies. And this was a pretty seriously made movie. It wasn't really ridiculous like the first one, like the Roger Corman movie. But it still had issues with its story and everything, its direction and so on. It is charming, it is good in some scenes. Chris Evans, he's good as the Human Torch, and he did return to the role in last year's Deadpool 3. He is one of the very few positives about this movie. There are some fun individual scenes in this movie, and it sometimes looks visually good. But I can't say that this movie is any good at all, really. It's passable at best. The movie really feels like a 2000s comic book movie, in the way that they didn't really take it seriously in the filmmaking. Because a comic book movie can be fun and goofy, but still be taken seriously in the manner which you make the movie. And here the script is very weak. You basically get the cartoon version in live action, even though the cartoon version was better as I remember it. And what I mean by that is that oftentimes in cartoons the themes are simplified. Yes, you get some heartwarming themes and character arcs in cartoons, but it's often not that deep to make the themes more easier to process for kids, especially in serial form like the Fantastic Four cartoon. There are of course exceptions in cartoons, like the X-Men animated series that really was ahead of its time, but usually with those 90s cartoon series, the themes were simplified so that kids just could get into it and understand it better. And I'm not saying that they are bad for doing that, it's a good way to introduce some things to kids. But they were there purely just to entertain the kids. And that's easier done to kids than an adult. But they were a good ground level to learn emotions and feelings and different relationships and so on. Learning love, loyalty and so on. And I would think at the time, in 2005, that these kind of movies were seen as more than that. Just popular kids' cartoons that they could make live action movies out of. Julian McMahon as Dr. Doom is totally wasted here. Dr. Doom is one of the biggest and popular villains of all time, and he is just very pointless in this movie. He very much so lacked the depth of the actual Dr. Doom from the comics, and it was really disappointing to see. Julian McMahon, he does what he can with this script he has, with the character he has been written, because it's not the Dr. Doom that we know, it's a much less version than that. He just feels like a random villain, and it's a shame they couldn't do better. It's actually a shame they couldn't do better with this whole movie, despite some of the positives it has. My main memory of the Fantastic Four is the cartoon. I always thought they were a fun group of characters, and they were Marvel's first superhero team. So it's surprising to me that they didn't give more respect to these characters. But the property was owned by Fox at the time, so they didn't have that history like Marvel did with this superhero team. Which brings me to the sequel to this movie, which was even worse, believe it or not. All of the little charm the first movie had is basically gone. Fantastic Four: The Rise of the Silver Surfer came out in 2007. Somehow the first movie got a sequel. It's made $154 million. And that's not that much if you compare the superhero movies of today and their box office. But I also think the budgets were a lot smaller at that time. But in The Rise of the Silver Surfer, the story is even less cohesive than in the first one. There's basically no real story in this movie. Dr. Doom is still a very badly written character, and the addition of Silver Surfer, even though he's comic book accurate with his background and how tragic it is, and that he also looks great visually, he's just not a deep enough character. They could have done so much more with him. He's also one of the more popular characters in the Marvel Universe. And that's again a big shame. I mean, you have two very popular characters like the Silver Surfer and Doctor Doom in one movie and you don't do much with them at all.
It's here.
That's bad.
That's really bad.
We have to destroy this thing.
The biggest issue is that the Rise of the Silver Surfer is just plain boring. No engaging story, no engaging character development either. The whole movie just feels like nothing is happening. Even though there are action scenes, there are things that happen in the story, but it just feels like it doesn't matter. It just feels like they put in all these popular characters to draw an audience. And speaking of popular characters, don't even get me started on Galactus. He is just a cloud in this movie. A planet-eating cloud. That, to me, is like the most disrespectful depiction of a comic book villain that is so huge and popular ever. And I think it had to do with that at the time, having him be the real Galactus, having him look like the big man he is and eating planets would be hard to explain to the general audience. So would his powers, because he is one of the most powerful villains in comic book history. All those powers would not be convenient to put in a movie for a general audience at the time at least. I also think both these movies were miscast, aside from Chris Evans as the Human Torch. The actors just don't give any good performances, and they don't feel like these characters at all, because some of them are very popular, like Jessica Alba, and she's connected and seen as something different, an actress that's just pretty for the most time. But she's not really a great actress, she's not even a good actress, from the things I have seen with her. And that's not disrespect to Jessica Alba herself. She basically just looks like Sue Storm, but that's it. And that can also be a problem with the writing for her, or a combination of both writing and her acting ability. Because I honestly don't think they were aiming to make a good movie with this one. I still think it's one of the worst comic book movies ever made. And it would take another 8 years till we got another Fantastic Four movie, because they never made a sequel to The Silver Surfer. And I mean Rise of the Silver Surfer. Instead, they would try a reboot, and a movie that among fans is called Fant4stic.
They just cracked interdimensional travel.
Incredible.
Josh Trank, who made an unconventional superhero movie called Chronicle, that came out in 2012. It was both written and directed by him. And that's what ultimately got him the job to reboot the Fantastic Four, because Chronicle is a really fantastic superhero movie. Even though it's not really a superhero movie, the characters are not known superheroes, they are just a group of teens that find powers in a cave. And it's a more grounded take on how superpowers would affect normal people if they got them, in a real life situation, sort of. It's a superhero found footage movie, basically. I really suggest, if you have not seen it, to watch it. But Josh Trank got the job of rebooting the new Fantastic Four, and it was a totally new cast and a totally new style to the movie. Here you actually had a great cast. Miles Teller as Mr. Fantastic, Michael B. Jordan as the Human Torch, Kate Mara as Invisible Woman, and Jamie Bell as the Thing. And this movie would be known to have a lot of production issues. The main problem would be that the director Josh Trank and the producers and executives didn't get along at all. Josh Trank wanted a body horror movie, superhero comic book movie that's body horror, especially with Mr. Fantastic. He wanted a modernization of the transformation of the Fantastic Four, specifically the science behind it. He wanted to explore the terrifying reality behind the powers, how it would be like to lose control over one's body, how it would feel like being uncontrollably on fire, invisible, or transformed into a rock creature. And I have to say those elements feel interesting to me, but the studio didn't agree with that, and took his dailies and just edited their own version of his movie, and basically tried to say what they can save of what they have shot, which then resulted in a very confusing movie in the theater. Here the issue doesn't feel like it didn't have a story. It just feels like an unfinished movie, like all 3 acts being cut down and feel too fast, and just that the studio didn't feel confident about his version of the movie and they just cut down all the elements and made what they could. And that just resulted in a very detached movie. It just feels like clips and sequences and different events happening, and they just happen without connection to them. Everything feels rushed. The style of the movie, the visual style of it, looks good. It actually looks great. And the acting in here is quite good, with a great cast that do a good job. And it's definitely better than Rise of the Silver Surfer, but it really doesn't pass a 4 out of 10 or something like that. A just okay movie. So, as you might have noticed, I don't really find any of the Fantastic Four movies so far that's been made any good. They are okay at best, with the worst one being Rise of the Silver Surfer. So that brings me to the Marvel's Fantastic Four that's coming out in July. Disney bought back the rights. So that means the Fantastic Four team is now part of all of the other properties like Avengers and so on, X-Men 2. And they are back where they should be.
Wow, folks, we all know the story. 4 brave astronauts head up into space and come back forever changed.
Matt Shakman is directing this one, and it's not his first rodeo at Marvel. He made the Marvel TV show WandaVision, which to me is one of Marvel's best TV shows as of yet. And they got a great cast this time around too. Pedro Pascal playing Mr. Fantastic, and he's great in everything he's in. Vanessa Kirby as Invisible Woman, and I actually think that's a great casting on paper. Joseph Quinn as Human Torch, he's a good up-and-coming actor. And Ebon Moss-Backrack as The Thing. So it's got a well-rounded cast with both experienced actors and young talent. I have to say that the trailers that we have seen so far have been good. Not great, but good. And it looks like we are getting a real representation of Galactus this time. But I have seen some backlash on the Silver Surfer, because it's the female version of the Silver Surfer this time around, Shala Bal. And I don't really see an issue with that. I just hope we get a good representation of the Silver Surfer, because the male one was not really that great in those 2 movies, the first 2 Fantastic Four movies. So it really doesn't matter to me if she's female or if it's not the real Silver Surfer. We get the same concept. It doesn't matter what gender it is. And the bar is low for the representation of the character. And it really looks like the Fantastic Four will be incorporated in a good way this time into the Marvel Universe. The movie can of course turn out to be bad, like all the other Fantastic Four movies. But on paper this looks like the greatest it's ever looked for a Fantastic Four movie. So I really hope it doesn't disappoint this July. So this has been a longer video I wanted to make. Like a Road Up 2 video to the new Fantastic Four movie. And it's another non-horror video. I will get back to horror, but I will review all genres. And this wasn't really a review, this was just an overview of the Fantastic Four movies. If you like this video, please like, share and subscribe. Also, don't forget to smash the bell icon so that you don't miss any of my future videos. This has been Phantom Frame. Thank you for watching.